Hello everyone, welcome one and all to the penultimate race meeting of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. We're with you live from the wonderful Donington Park as we get all pumped up for this afternoon's worth of racing. My name is Connery Maddock and I'm joined by the ever wonderful Paul Smith on the commentary here today. Paul, it is Donington Park, of course, not too far away from East Midlands Airport. I used to live around here in Derby, so this track definitely has a special place in my heart and many British racers, as it is a pretty exciting opportunity to get some great racing out there.
It's a historic venue, that is for sure, is this track, and it's one that will provide some tremendous racing out there. And well, it's worth pointing out we're on the Grand Prix loop of this one, so the full layout of this one, so there's going to be a few opportunities for overtakes out there today, but it's also the track that they used for the 1993 European Grand Prix, the other Grand Prix that's ever been held here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, there were some murmurings a couple of years ago that F1 might come back to the circuit as Silverstone were going through a few problems. But, well, that hasn't happened, of course. But maybe at some point in the future, F1 will be back. It just needs to, I guess, get up to Grade 1 conditions for the FIA to consider it. But we are here today in these wonderful, wonderful Porsches. And we have potentially a championship to be decided as well. Sebastian Job, he only needs the points from the fastest lap and pole position, and we can count him as the winner without even having to go to Brands Hatch next time.
Yeah, he's got a 42-point lead at the moment in the championship, and there's 48 points available to the pro drivers here if they had two perfect weekends. So yeah, it's going to be a case of just working the way down, whittling the way down, getting those points in. I mean, Sebastian, he can just shadow Will Chadwick if he wanted to. That's not in his nature, though. He'll want to win. Let's be honest. And well, if he gets himself to the winner's circle in this opening race, we can crown him a pro champion provisionally.
Yeah, of course, and well, here's just a little bit of a recap of where we have been and where we're going this season. You can see that we are very, very close to drawing this thing to a close. We just have 2 race meetings to go. This one here at Donington Park, and then we head back to Brands Hatch, actually, this time to the GP layout for our finale. Race 15 and 16 will take place there. All good British Championships have their finale at Brands Hatch, especially on the GP layouts. It's going to be interesting to see how that's negotiated, considering it can be quite tricky to overtake there. Here's how the format works, though, for this afternoon in this series. The drivers are already competing in their 20 minutes of open qualifying. And of course, due to it being a heat racing session, they will not be able to complete their laps once time expires. So that's the important thing to note. Then we'll head in towards race number 1, 25 minutes, just a regular race. And then we have 10 minutes of warm-up in between the 2 races here today. Race 2 will be another 25-minute race with the top 6 grid reversal based on the results of race 1. There's 2 championships going on here as well. The Pro Championship, which is basically all but sealed by Sebastian Job here for the moment. And of course, we have the AM Championship as well, which is looking just that good amount closer. So that's what we're paying more attention to in the final round of things, if Sebastian Job can get it done here. Speaking of Sebastian Job, there he is at the top of the pro standings, 124 points, just 2 points away from mathematical victory here in this series. So he's looking very, very good indeed, pending something catastrophic happening today. William Chadwick still in a very respectable 2nd place, and well, he's not safe from Matt Emery down there in 3rd, is he, Paul?
No, not at all. Matt Emery's really had a turn of form this second half of the season, so 2nd place is not a guarantee here in the championship this time with Moon and Sedgwick. They're a bit behind, but they could still be within an outside shot of a top 3 finish for those 2 as well.
Absolutely, and we can have a look at the AM standings as well, because things are a little bit tighter here. So we've got Leo Garibaldi on 97 points leading the way from Gareth Higgins. And of course, if you remember back to the last race meeting, Gareth Higgins had an absolutely diabolical round, only scoring 4 points versus Garibaldi's 20 that he was able to collect from that round. So there's been a massive swing there. Higgins is still in it, though. with these 2 race meetings to go. Luke Pennington in 3rd place as well. Potentially might have a shot to get himself up in towards 2nd place, at least with a good run here at the very end. But this AM Championship has a lot of intrigue because it's really been back and forth between Garibaldi and Higgins.
It certainly has. It's been intriguing to watch all season. It's been some tremendous excitement, and Garibaldi had a couple of bad rounds, Higgins has had a couple of bad rounds, and it's all sort of evened out throughout the season. But Luke Pennington, he's a driver who'll be a little bit frustrated there in 3rd place. I feel that he will have wanted to have been in that championship fight, but he's just not had that consistency compared to Leo and Gareth at the front.
Yeah, he's certainly capable of taking AM class wins, but they've been few and far between over the course of this season. Sort of language, getting involved in a few problems, few incidents on race starts that put him back further down the order, where he is perhaps his pace would usually have him. But this is absolutely fantastic circuit here, Donington Park, a fantastic host for our penultimate round of the season. And well, myself and Paul will just step aside just for a moment, because we do have a very wonderful track guide coming up from one of our series organisers. This is Ronald Grossman taking us for a lap.
Hi, I'm Ronald Grossman, I'm the race director and one of the stewards, and welcome to the 7th track walk for the 2023 Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship here at Donington Park. From motorbikes to motorhead, Donington is one of UK's iconic venues. At just over 4 kilometers, the GP track packs a lot of punch and history, with its blind corners, tight hairpins and elevation changes. That history is felt closely for the series, as more than once championship rivals have clashed in the old hairpin fighting over points. The last sector in particular is always fun to watch. 2 tight hairpins making for 2 good passing opportunities, and it's set up by a tricky chicane that's easy to get wrong. Come hop on board with me and we will take an onboard lap here at Donington Park. Alright, here we go, out of Goddard's to start a new lap. Turn 1, red gate, quite fast, 3rd gear corner. You can use a little bit of the pit exit to open up the corner, but don't be too greedy. You want to be really early on the throttle here, because you need all the speed out of here through the granite curves and down to the old hairpin. This left-hander here is a little bit of a blind corner, and now 1 gear down, 4th gear, turn in early for old hairpin, use all the space available. Now up towards McLean's. Want to approach it from the right to get the straightest braking as possible. 3rd gear corner, and you have to be careful on the exit. There's a little bit of a crest here that loses your traction on the rear. And now Coppice, again really blind turn in. You want to be right on the apex, tight exit, so you can use all the space on the left to accelerate out properly. I even run a little bit too wide here. And now towards the chicane. Go down to 3rd gear, try to be as close to the ball as possible without catching an off track or slow down, and there's a big bump there right in between the ES. Now towards Melbourne hairpin, we go down to 1st gear to get the car turned in, and there's a lot of space on the exit, so we use it to accelerate out. A little bit of short shifting to keep the traction, and now last turn, Goddard's again down to 1st gear. Try to keep as much traction as possible, a little bit of short shifting to get the most speed out of there, and that was 1 lap on Donington Park GP. I hope you learned a thing or two through that lap. Now let's give the reins back to Connery and Paul for the penultimate round of the championship.
Well, thank you very much there, Ronald. It's great to have a chief steward that's also pretty handy behind the wheel. I imagine that gives him a pretty good insight into those stewarding decisions. Hopefully we won't be having too many of those here today, Paul. Hoping for clean battling and clean racing. it has been my previous experience that we tend to get decent races at Donington, but in slightly lower powered machines, which these are not, of course. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Oh, absolutely not. These cars, they are really powerful machines. You're over 400 brake horsepower, no traction control, no ABS to worry about either as well. And in this championship, they run a fixed setup. So if you're new to iRacing and you're wondering what that means, well, basically every car has got the exact same setup in terms of the suspension, in terms of how the car drives, in terms of wing settings. Everything is the same across the whole field. So it's down to the drivers to make that difference out here. And I think that's what helps us produce some tremendous racing in this championship.
Yeah, everything just kept that little bit tighter as a result, but that hasn't really stopped the guy that's on screen right now walking away at the front in some of these races, just on another level, is Sebastian Job. If you're wondering why he's down in 10th at the moment, is a lot of these drivers just tend to take their time on these outlaps here just to try and burn off the fuel. So then they can go hard charging with a lighter fuel load towards the very end of their sort of warm-up cycle here. They might get a couple of fast laps in by the end, but of course not as many as you would have thought that 20 minutes would be able to give them. But currently it is Luke Pennington that finds himself on the top of the order. Then we've got ourselves Matt Emery there in second place. But this will all sort of chop and change and shuffle around by the time the 8 minutes and 50 seconds that we have to run is complete. Here's Eric Grove heading his way across the line now. 1:33.644 is his best lap, across the line with a 1:28.3. And that puts him up in the 5th place.
You know, it's worth pointing out that Luke Pennington's lap time is only about 2.5 tenths slower than the fastest time in the practice session before this qualifying session here. So that's actually not a bad lap time from Luke. I do expect that the practice session was used more as a bit of race practice than anything. As well, Sebastian Job, 27.6 now across the line. We normally see it at around about that 5-minute mark is where we usually see the grid sort of get more or less finalised, with the last couple of times coming in the last couple of minutes. But yeah, these drivers, because they've got a fixed setup in this series, they've actually got the race setup on right now, so they're just trying to burn that fuel off, as you said, Connery, lose that weight. But they've also got to be careful not to push the tyres too hard when they're doing that, because they want the best grip that they possibly can get to be able to push for their hot laps.
Indeed. Here's Leo Gariboli, currently top of the AM standings here in a direct fight with Gareth Higgins for that top spot in AM. It's like you said before, Paul, it's been fantastic to watch these guys duke it out over the course of the season, at least in terms of the points. They haven't actually done all that much on circuit versus each other, but there's certainly plenty of time for that to change here in this one. So lots to look forward to here in the later round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. And of course, you know, when you talk about the championship, well, all championships have prizes, right? So we've got Pro Championship, 7,500 goes to the winner of the Pro Championship, then 5,000 to second, 2,500 to third. So Sebastian Job basically has 7,500 quid in his bank account here by the end of the day, if things go well and he gets those 2 points or those handful of points required. Then, of course, we have the AM Championship as well. $4,500 for an AM Championship win. Not a small sum of money whatsoever. Then you've got 3,000 for the AM Championship second place, then 1,500 for AM Championship third. And then, of course, you have the per race prizes as well. So £150 for first, £100 for second, £50 for third. So still a lot to play for here in these last couple of rounds of the season, even if, say, your individual championship positions have just gotten away from you a bit. It's still worth you joining, still worth you pushing on, because you might find yourself in the top 3 and getting that that's bonus money.
You think Sebastian has basically won $1,500 just in wins. Yeah, it just shows just how dominant Sebastian Job has been in this championship so far. He is Josh Malin and back behind the wheel of his car. Josh has been getting involved in silly incidents and just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, it's a lot of the incidents that he's been involved in haven't been of his own doing. One or two he has been found at fault at, but I feel that he should be in a better position than he is in terms when you look at the championship, because he is a rapid driver, as Josh. It's just, I think things need to fall into place in terms of the races for him.
He certainly has the talent in terms of the lap times to be competing at the front of the field. He's shown that a good couple of times this season, but you are absolutely right. It seems to be a little bit more of an issue with, well, getting involved in things he shouldn't. And, you know, that's not how you win championships, unfortunately. It's that consistency, really, that's key. Sebastian Job has shown that over the course of this season. Here's Gareth Higgins, who has his own championship to be concerned about here. 7th place in qualifying at the moment. Qualified currently ahead of Garibaldi and, well, has a few AM drivers between himself and Garibaldi, which will certainly help his situation if that remains true at the end of this qualifying.
Yeah, Higgins, he's got to put in a good round this round. He's, what, 14 points behind championship leader in AM, so he needs to outscore Leo to really take it into the final round of the championship at Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time. So again, you know, it's been fascinating watching that amateur championship challenge, should I say? Get my teeth in. But yeah, it's certainly been an impressive round for those two. They've really put in some really quick lap times, and they've been getting up there with the top pros as well towards the end of the season. It's been great to watch their improvement throughout the season, as there goes Will Chadwick across the line. Again, just getting laps in just to burn the fuel off. I think it'll be this lap or potentially the next lap, because we've only got 3 minutes 13 remaining, so time is running out there.
It's an interesting thing you bring up though, the gap narrowing between the AM drivers and the pro drivers, it feels like. It's certainly something I've noticed over the past couple of rounds, where in this qualifying session, for example, you have Gareth Higgins up there in 4th place, and, you know, he's ahead of a good contingent of the pro drivers. You know, Pennington, Rushworth, all up there mingling in. So there isn't sort of a direct separation between pro drivers and AM drivers on that timing tower here for the moment, which is great to see. You know, it's fantastic to see the improvements from the AM drivers over the course of the season. Of course, they do, you know, if we do get ourselves another season of this, then of course the organisers will then have to consider whether or not to put them into that pro category if they've shown to be doing so well in the AM. But yeah, it is great to see them getting stuck in, despite of course the point incentive not quite being there. Maybe the podium incentive is there because of the prize money, but there we go. Jack Cedric across the line.
Pennington's just gone second, but Sebastian Job is on a lap right now, I can tell you from his sector times. He is rapid on the lap. There's Will Chadwick then, only up into 9th for him, but Sebastian Job has been setting purple sectors. He is absolutely on one here, and don't be surprised to see him at the top of the standings.
Here we go, 2:68, excuse me, as it corrects itself there towards the very end, but the number 22 on the top of the pile once again by over 1.5 tenths of a second. Back to Moon, and I don't think anyone really is in a position to go challenging that here in the final minute and a half that they have to go. Well, you know, if they're just starting their laps now, they won't be able to complete it, of course, due to this being a heat racing session. Time expires, that's the end. You don't get to complete any lap that you're on. So, you know, time running out. Is there anyone particularly that's going quickly at the moment? I'm not really seeing much chance for potential movement.
Higgins has just gone up to 6th. Penn went up to 5th as well. Leo Garibaldi's down in 13th right now, the 89. He's just coming down the back straight towards the Fogarty S's. So Leo Garibaldi, he's running out of time here to get himself up with Gareth Higgins going into the end of this qualifying, and in fact he's pulled over. So Garibaldi is not going to be setting a good lap time as Adam State, well, he comes across the line to finish his lap, and he will get an improvement. He does get an improved time, but it doesn't move him up the standings, and Jacob Tofts comes across the line, but he's not going to improve.
Yep, no improvement for Tofts, but what a great opportunity for Gareth Higgins in this situation, scoring himself a good couple of grid spots ahead of his championship rival there down in the AM class. So he's got to capitalize on that now and not get swallowed up too much by the pro drivers who are eager to press on forwards. But that's the qualifying session completely done and dusted here for the round 13 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. And we have, of course, Sebastian Job on pole position for the Red Bull Racing Esports team. Another pole position for Sebastian Job, one step closer to a championship win. We've got Jamie Moon there in second place, Team 75 Bernard by Sim RC car on the front row. Then you've got Luke Pennington there in third place. Jack Cedric starts in fourth. We've got Matt Emery and Leon Penn there on the third row. Then you've got Gareth Higgins there in seventh place. We've got Josh Malin in P8 with Ollie Peacock in P9 for ACRS Esports. Then it's the Altus Esports car of William Chadwick, struggling a little bit here in qualifying, all things considered, for P2 in the pro order. Then you've got Eric Grove there for Pure Sims in P11, makes an all Pure Sims row 6 there with Jamie Rushworth on his outside. Then you've got Leo Garibaldi there, again struggling in qualifying, has a lot to do here in race 1 for Team PGZ. Then you've got Adam Cox there in 14th place. Adam State in 15th with Scott Mokes in 16th. Then you've got Team DCWR there in 17th place with James Parker. Then you've got Jacob Tofts there in P18. And then our final starter here today will be Brandon Blakesley for ACRS Esports in the 77, P19 for him. The drivers getting themselves ready now, of course. We do have a little bit of time to chat about our expectations here heading on to the first lap of Donington Park, of course. It's not too long of a run down in towards Redgate first time of asking, so these guys likely will be stacked up to double file still coming down in towards that section. And well, if they remain double file down the Craner curves and into the old hairpin, that's when problems start happening, Paul.
Yes, and of course cold tyres as well for the drivers out there. Track temperature is only 20.6 degrees Celsius, so it's quite cool on the track as well, so it can take a little bit longer for those tyres to get up to temperature. But yeah, if you're too wide down into the old hairpin, you've just got to hope that there's a bit of cooperation between those cars that you're in and around, and that you can all get through that corner side by side. But they should really sort themselves out by McLean's on lap 1 and get themselves into single file. But Sebastian Job, he's got one thing in mind now. He wants to just pull away from the front, get himself a win, and get himself provisionally a championship.
Gets himself onto the starting grid there on the inside for turn number 1 for pole position here at Donington Park. Just a couple of seconds away from getting ourselves the green flag and heading in towards turn number 1 for the first time here. Engine notes will rise. There's that Red Bull Racing Esports car on pole position. Who gets the good launch here? It's Luke Pennington from third place. Jamie Moon is completely bogged down. There's someone in the grass there in the background, a bit of shouldering. The DCWR car out in towards the wall as the rest of the field heads their way in towards Redgate here for the first time. Side by side between Jack Cedric and Jamie Moon. Of course, Moon with that awful start, losing positions off of the initial getaway here, and now in towards hairpin, towards the old hairpin, excuse me. For the first time, everyone struck out single file in the early goings here as we head in towards sector 2.
Yeah, we thought that it might get a bit excited down to the old hairpin. They didn't even make it to turn number 1 before there was contact. James Parker being the victim there. There's a Pure Sims car off at McLean's, but gets back onto the track. But yeah, through Coppice, and look at the lead that Sebastian Job has got already here. It's almost a second between him and Luke Pennington. Pennington, a great launch from the second row of the grid. That's exactly what Jamie Moon needed to do.
Yeah, it was a fantastic getaway from Pennington, and combined with the poor start of Moon, there was a huge difference in speed heading their way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Matt Emery, oh, you can see a slow car there. That is Emery, has a slow down penalty, and that's the only thing it could really be on the way in towards the final corner, and Emery continuing to lose positions here.
Yeah, it was a slowdown penalty. He must have got that through the Fogarty S's then on that opening lap. And it is brutal. Slowdown penalties on the opening lap are brutal here on iRacing. Because you haven't got a sector time set, it will just give you a sort of token slowdown penalty, which is a lot more harsh than later on in the race. So there's the replay of the start. We had slow cars off the start, and that's Gary Bowley. Yeah, it was Leo Garibaldi who got caught out by all of that, had to check up. Look at him, he's on the grass, he gets into the back of the 23 Holly Peacock, and well, that causes the check-up that James Parker ends up in the wall.
Yep, and well, I hit a few bits of contact as well for Garibaldi, which is not ideal here on the first race, getting that damage early, potentially slowing the car down, but we'll keep a track of his progress. He's down in P17 overall here for the moment, but most importantly, absolutely hemorrhaging points to Gareth Higgins at the moment. Luke Pennington, like top of AM, doing very well there in second place, best of the rest here at the moment as far as the field is concerned, with Job trying to stretch his legs at the very front of the field, almost getting towards 9/10 of a second is his advantage right now. We're on board with Cedric there very briefly on the bottom to see his progress through the field. He currently resides in 3rd place overall, 2nd in the pro class. However, as they head their way through Goddard's once again and across the line, here comes, I was going to say maybe Jamie Moon looking for a move on Cedric there in towards Redgate, and well, there are signs of it, but Moon unable to get himself through in this instance as we see the field fly by.
Well, we know that Jamie's got pace here today, don't we? Because he got himself qualified on the front row of the grid. So Jack Cedric, a man who knows how to drive these cars. He's been in multiple Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Championships, not this year, but he knows how to pedal these cars as well as racing here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup of Great Britain. But Jamie Moon has got the bit between his teeth right now. He wants to try and get ahead of Jack Cedric, getting oh so close, but not quite close enough. And the thing is, Moon, he's fighting to try and get into the top 3 of the championship. He's only coming into this round of the championship 11 points back from Matt Emery, who we saw having that slowdown penalty on lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, it's been a very intriguing fight so far for this 3rd place for what is basically £50 in terms of the bonus money here in race 1. So that's that little carrot on a stick in front of the drivers to go chasing. But here comes Jamie Moon looking down the inside once again. Cedric is a little bit wide there through Goddard's, which allowed that little peek to the inside. But of course, Moon wasn't able to really do anything with it on the way down in towards Redgate now, and will have to remain single file. Chadwick is trying to work his way through the field here for the moment as well. He's already up a couple positions from where he started. He started in 10th and he now resides in 6th place, with a good couple of cars on his nose there as well, with that Altus Esports car on the very back of this 4-car pack.
I think crucially for Will Chadwick is that he is ahead of Matt Emery in this race right now. It just gets him a couple more extra points, and also he's in 6th place. Let's not forget, if he finishes the race in that position, he gets pole position for race number 2 today. So he'll be wanting to get a win here, because it's been quite a while since Will has got himself a win, unfortunately for Mr. Chadwick.
It has been. Well, depends on whether he feels like he has a huge pace delta over those drivers in front here. If he feels like he can pick his way through, maybe get up onto the podium, then that's what he will do. But with the pressure from Malin behind and Emery as well, not too far down the road, we'll see ourselves a bit of wheel-to-wheel going through the hairpin. That's Ollie Peacock versus Gareth Higgins there. And Higgins probably best advised not to really fight these things so much, considering how much of a points delta he has to Garibaldi here for the moment here in race 1.
Yes, but also he does want to move forward. If he feels he's got the pace advantage over Ollie, he wants to move forward and get ahead because it puts a car between him and other AM drivers. It just helps you manage the race a bit better if you've got a car from another class between you and your fellow competitors. So he has got Adam Stake behind him, who is not involved in the championship fight. Higgins, he wouldn't gain any extra points in the AM championship by making the move on Ollie Peacock because he's a pro driver. But as I say, it just gives him that little bit of a safety net behind him.
Yeah, could be critical. Here are the track conditions then. It's mostly cloudy day here at Donington Park. That's probably pretty typical for this country. 21 degrees on the track temperature as we get later and later into the afternoon in sim time here. 2:35, which is roughly close to what time it is now. Meanwhile, we have moves being made. This is Jamie Moon and Leon Penn. And here comes Chadwick as well, looking to try and get himself stuck in to this particular battle. Now looking for the breakings down in towards Goddard's. Penn will leave the space on the inside for Chadwick to try and work his way through. Chadwick gaining the traction off the corner. Bit of stalemate between the two of them as they come off for that one. A bit of a squeeze given by Chadwick as well, which I'm sure Leon Penn will not appreciate as he gets teased out a little bit towards the grass there as Chadwick, good launch out of Redgate as well, has a very good chance at drawing himself alongside Jamie Moon, but not going to go for it down into such a tricky and technical section.
Yeah, back out of it. Just don't try and push things a little bit. So you've got to be careful with things and not make moves when they're not really on there. So Chadwick just holding on to 5th place. Leon Penn, but you can see how Leon Penn went from move for 4th and now has ended up falling back. That shows the nature of this Donington Park. It's a real flow to the track, and if you're sort of out of line and out of position, then you can lose out on those positions.
Yeah, it's difficult to get your head back in the game as well. Moon going very defensive on the way down in towards the hairpin. Chadwick having to go the long way around here. Ascend being made further back by Malin down the inside of Penn. And, that's all going to string itself out once again, single file in towards Goddard's. But there was a big look there from Chadwick, and now a little bit of a love tap through Goddard's as well. Chadwick wanting to press forwards, perhaps literally.
Do you know what? That is a classic tactic through Goddard's to just slow it right down on the apex, force the car behind you to back off so that they don't get the run off of Goddard's. I do remember watching back in the mid-90s, yes, I'm getting on a bit now, in the touring cars, Paul Radicic used to use that tactic quite a lot. Just park the car on the apex, don't accelerate immediately, cause the other car behind to just back off, and then you get the better run out of Goddard's down the start-finish straight, and it just stops you from being under immediate attack.
Am I correct in saying that Plato was infamous for that move? Just parking it on the apex and...
No, Plato was infamous for punting people, let's be honest.
I mean, yes, but, this is one of many moves that he pulled over the course of his career.
Matt Emery was looking... sorry to butt in there. Matt Emery was looking going down to the chicane in 8th place. He wants to move forward because he's losing points to Will Chadwick right now. He needs to get, ideally, into the top 6 if you're Matt Emery right now.
Yeah, so still potential for things to get a bit of, quite interesting here in this particular train of cars. Absolutely nose to tail, and feels like this train has grown a significant amount over the past couple of laps. So it's going to be interesting to see these interactions here. Where's Gareth Higgins? Higgins is on the back of this one, so that's going to be a decent place for him to be. He's got himself a good couple of seconds gap over Adam State further behind, so not under any sort of immediate pressure there for second place in the AM category. Big up Toffs getting past Jamie Rushworth there down in towards the old hairpin. We'll have to see if that was a negotiated move or whether that was quite forceful. But no, it was just Rushworth getting slow off of Redgate, which caused that to happen.
And that shows it. Go through Hollywood into the Craner curves, and if you get the run, you can get that move done. And I think Rushworth saw sense, and rather than to try to fight that out all the way into the old hairpin, just slot in behind, lose as little time as possible in that overtake being made, because Jacob's not in his championship fight for Rushworth. Rushworth is Tofts is a pro. Rushworth, again, he's only 11 points off of a top 3 coming into this round of the championship, so Rushworth wants points. So it's running out wide, and this is the problem now, because now Cox is coming up to make some moves on Jamie.
Adam Cox, big look to the inside for Goddard. No commitment on that one though. Rushworth overcooks the entry just that little bit, but recovers it when it comes to the exit of the corner. So battles here just outside of the top 10 in the overall running order. Important points for AM category going on back here as well. Like you mentioned, Rushworth having to, his primary fight would be with Scott Boakes potentially further down the road and keeping Cox behind him as well. But 12.5 minutes left remaining, probably not going to be able to get up to that number 7 after additionally passing the number 27.
Oh, now that's crucial. I've just seen Leon Penn's dropping down the order. That allows Gareth Higgins to move forward. But crucially, Matt Emery's moved one step closer to a reverse grid pole position for race number 2. So up to 7th for Matt.
Yeah, and that was a couple of lost positions there for Leon Penn. That's unfortunate. I don't think there was any contact involved in this one. Let's see what happens. Interesting. He was offline on entry there immediately. Not sure if it carried too much speed, but the positioning of the car was all wrong there.
They did end up making contact corner entry. The two lines converged there between the two of them. It slowed both of them up there, which meant that they did end up losing time. So yes, Emery has made it through, but Malin ahead now is nearly 2 seconds ahead of Matt Emery. So it's going to be a tall order with 11.5 minutes remaining in this race. But that's the thing. You've got to take a wide entry into McLean's to make that move, to make that the best run through there. And that allows people to make a dive to the inside of the corner. It's one of those overtaking spots that you can make moves around here at this venue. But the two lines, when you take that wide line, you're coming in for a nice apex. And all of a sudden you've got a car alongside you, you've got to open up the steering wheel to a degree.
Yeah, and I imagine with a train like they were in, everyone just sort of protecting that inside a little bit more to try and prevent those dives. Might have been what was happening there. And as soon as someone doesn't go with the crowd, then the dives happen, or the looks happen in that sense. But there's the train for second place. Luke Pennington as an AM driver, top AM driver here at the moment. Second place overall with an absolutely fantastic drive so far. It's been an incredible performance for the number 74, and will certainly help in terms of his championship points there down in the AM category. Keeping Cedric, Moon, Chadwick, Maitland behind all in one go is no small feat.
No, not at all. You've got some very quick drivers. You've got the wily experience of Jack Sedgwick behind him immediately. We've got Jamie Moon, who we know has got pace, and then we've got Will Chadwick, who has really been the only person to take the championship fight to Sebastian Job this season, and unfortunately it's just not worked out for Will. Yeah, it's a tall order for Luke Pennington. We said that he'd struggled with consistency. We saw it at Snetterton when he did lead the AM class race at Snetterton and made one mistake, and then it just went away from him. So if he can keep this on the grey stuff now for the rest of the race, I don't think you need to fight this one out with these guys. If one of them make a move, if I'm Luke Pennington, I'm saying I'm going to defend because I want an overall podium, but I'm not going to defend like my life's like riding on it.
Yeah, I think that would be a decent plan of action for Pennington. Of course, you know, you have podium prize money on the mind here at the moment as well, £100 for that second place finish. So that might be a little bit of an incentive to try and defend just that little bit harder, despite the point situation. But coming across the line they go. It's a decent train here for second place, and even if Pennington lets this entire train go, he's still not really under threat from Gareth Higgins in behind. So it's you know, it wouldn't be the end of the world if these decide to freight train him, as long as he keeps himself out of trouble in terms of contact and running wide.
Yeah, exactly. One that's happening behind as well is Matt Emery has been on a charge to get himself up to a couple of tenths back from Josh Malin. So those two are going to be duking it out in the final 8 minutes of this race as well. We've got an intriguing end to this race, haven't we? We've got the second and third place is still on the line here at the moment, and the reverse grid pole position is very much on the line as well.
Yeah, it's bubbling along quite nicely, isn't it? You know, we're set ourselves up for potentially a pretty decent finish here with ramifications in the individual championships. It's just, you know, when do they start looking to try and make those moves at this stage? Will it be penultimate lap? Will it even wait till all the way to the final lap? Well, the situation might be different for all of your drivers. I just saw Emery have a big look on Malin. He wants to push forward immediately here in this situation, just further behind this pack that's going on for second place here at the moment. But you know, you have to try and think, okay, when's this going to start happening? When are people going to be having eyes too big for their stomach?
Well, their eyes had better not be as big as my stomach, because that'll be very big indeed. But these drivers, they want the best result they could possibly get. I think Leon Penn getting an overall second place in the opening race of the day would be a tremendous result for an AM driver to get, and I think it would be a real boost to Luke's confidence in being able to not only consistently lap after lap keep the pace up, but also hold back some very, very talented pro drivers. And well, Will Chadwick seen an opportunity there at McLean's. Moon was defending going into McLean's. He's offline. That's given Chadwick the run, but now it's going to be Moon who's got the inside going down to the S's.
Yep, and a little bit of speed going the way of Moon here down in towards the braking zone for the Vogti S's as Chadwick swings it through, gets a very good line indeed, and now it forces Moon to go defensive, almost pushing Chadwick into the grass there, but will relinquish the line down in towards the hairpin. Chadwick gets the exit required to make the move complete there as well, but that was, well, elbows out, boys, I think, because Moon was basically dragged Chadwick across the circuit.
That was aggressive. Moon's going back at it. Chadwick's made the mistake at Goddard's. It's all heating up now in this one. The thing is, Chadwick, he's trying to secure second place in the championship. He wants to get as many points as possible. Oh, contact between the two of them mid-corner. Nothing malicious in that. It's just the two trying to go through Redgate. And we saw how keen they were fighting. And now look at Josh Malin. Josh Malin is getting involved in this.
And Emery as well. Emery looking to the inside of the whole hairpin, but doesn't have the overlap. And even if he did, that would have been an instant down into there because Malin was already committed to the corner for all intents and purposes. 5-6 minutes to go is when these drivers have decided that they want to press on forwards. A big battle there between Chadwick and Moon. Not a lot of space given by the two of them there. They were trying to sort of manipulate each other's cars, shall we say, with the leaning down into some of these braking zones and through the exits as well. But in the end, Chadwick does come out on top in that one. And now Moon has to deal with Malin, a very quick Malin, a very quick Emery in behind as well in these final 4.5 minutes that we have to go. And we can't forget about the Battle of the P2 either, because that's still going on between Pennington and Cedric here at the moment. And, well, they've been left all on their lonesome now due to that battling that has been going on behind.
I think Jack Cedric will be pleased seeing Will Chadwick and Jamie Moon fighting out like that, because it's right. I don't need to look behind me now. I can focus forward and try and make a move on Luke Pennington here in the final few laps of this race. But Moon's got to be careful here, because Josh Malin can sniff some more points here, some more championship points in this one, and it also would put him in a more secure place in terms of the reverse grid, because as much as 6th place gives you pole position, I think I would rather go for 5th place and guarantee myself a front row start for the second race, rather than being in 6th place and potentially having this man, Matt Emery, that we're driving on board with there, getting that 6th place right at the death.
Yeah, Emery has shown a lot of desire to get up into that reverse grid pole position, looking for those opportunistic moves in that last sequence of action that we had, but wasn't able to find the result he wanted. And now down into the S's once again. So difficult to try and negotiate your way through there. You have to be careful of potential slowdown penalties as well, which we saw a few people fall foul of on lap number 1. Emery sort of taking the hairpin as a little bit of a double apex there behind. Not sure if that was intentional or not. But now in towards the final corner. Just a handful of laps to go here in this situation. Still that battle raging on for for the reverse grid pole position. Still potentially things might happen for P2 with Pennington and Sedgwick. Meanwhile, Job 4.5 seconds in front of everyone, doesn't really care what's going on back there.
Yeah, I think his team will be saying to him, you need to slow down for the future, mate. We need to get you on screen more time for the sponsors. He's just been absolutely just out for a Sunday afternoon drive with Sebastian, and why not? He's been doing a sensational job all season long. The only time he's had any hiccups for Sebastian has been the race 2s, where he got involved in a couple of incidents, once at Alton Park with Charles Rainford and Snetterton as well, with Will Chadwick. So, you know, those are the only times that Job has really slipped up this season. The rest of the time, he's been at the front and he's won. So, yeah, he's pretty much doing what he's done all season.
Yeah, and again, just, you know, so close to that championship title now. Meanwhile, battle's going on behind. It's involving Higgins. Peacock and Higgins deciding to duke it out, and there's going to be more getting themselves involved here. We're going to have a 3-wide situation. That was a slowdown there for Ollie Peacock. He has to drop in behind, and now it's 2x2 through the hairpin with Leon Penn getting to the front of this pack over Higgins. And of course, Adam State now looking to try and get himself involved, because he wants that AM class second place to be his rather than Higgins.
I think Leon Penn will be saying thanks, mate, to Gareth Higgins, because he set up the mistake from Ollie Peacock through the chicane. He got the line through across, and yeah, it was a really good move done to get that position, get 2 places in one move there.
Yeah, fantastic stuff indeed. And, well, points in the account that will certainly help in towards these latter portions of the season. There's Sebastian Job, 40 seconds left to go here in the season. Coming towards, well, that's Coppice Corner now, on towards the back straights. 30 seconds left to go for Sebastian Job. It has been an exemplary season. Hasn't been a perfect season, but it has been an exemplary season, and to be able to potentially take the championship with a round in hand is something very, very special indeed. Meanwhile, there, of course, is this battle going on behind here for second place. Unless there's a move down into the hairpin, I don't think it's going to change so much. But for Sebastian Job, provisionally, of course, he will head his way in towards the final corner of Goddard's here at Donington Park, and he will come across the line as the champion in the pro class of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. It goes Red Bull Racing Esports ways, and it's another title in Sebastian Job's name. in X Racing, Jack Sedgwick comes across the line behind for a well-deserved second place. Then you've got Luke Pennington there, who had trouble in the latter portions, drops down into third. We'll have to get a replay of that one. But the man of the moment, of course, is Sebastian Job, with that title yet to be confirmed, of course, because we need to get the official results and have everything in order. But, you know, you can see by the celebrations and the congratulations that the drivers are giving that, well, they're 100% sure that he's won it.
Yeah, I mean, he won the debut season of this championship, don't forget, in 2021 did Sebastian, so he knows how to do it, and he's certainly done a tremendous job, and yeah, provisional champion to Sebastian Job. Well, the pressure's off, isn't it now, for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it is. You can have a little bit of fun if you wanted to, potentially. But Sebastian Job, I think his concept of fun is winning by 4.7 seconds. But yeah, fantastic performance there once again, and you know, we're not even done. We've got 3 races to go. You know, this is certainly a fantastic situation for Sebastian Job to be in, and he can just, like I said, just take the pressure off his shoulders a little bit for these final races. Then you got Jack Sedgwick there in second place with Luke Pennington in third. That had a little bit of a swap around very late on, and so we'll have to see what happened there between those two in towards the final corner. I don't think there was a move in towards the hairpin. Meanwhile, Chadwick there in fourth place with Jamie Moon in fifth, Josh Malin in the sixth with Matt Emery in P7. We've got Leon Penn in P8 with Gareth Higgins in P9. That's, again, fantastic for Higgins' championship, especially versus Garibaldi. Then we've got Ollie Peacock there in 10th. Then, of course, we got Adam State there in 11th with Scott Mokes in P12, Jacob Tofts in P13 with Jamie Rushworth in P14, Adam Cox P15 with Eric Grove in P16. Then you got Leo Garibaldi, not an ideal race number 1 for Leo, especially when you consider his lead in the AM Championship has now been considerably reduced due to that result, and makes things interesting here in these final 3 races. Then you've got Brandon Blakesley there in P18 with James Parker rounding out the 19-car finishing order. So, we've crowned a champion of 1 championship, of course provisionally, but we still got the other one to think about, don't we, Paul? We have that Higgins versus Garibaldi battle, and, well, if Pennington putting up results like that, he has an outside shot of doing something about it. But yeah, this is, I gotta say though, massive congratulations to Sebastian Job. You know, he makes it look easy. You know, he just goes out there, waltzes 4.5 seconds ahead of everyone. But we know it's not that easy to get yourself to that level where you're able to do that, because, you know, these drivers are not weak. The other drivers are not weak drivers by any means. You know, on iRacing top splits in the Porsche Cup, for example, they'll be winning races left, right, and centre in top splits. But Sebastian Job is just that level above.
Yeah, and he's proven it all the way through this season. As I said, it was only a couple of occasions that he didn't get a win in these races, and that's because of a couple of incidents that he got involved in. So Sebastian has just been the absolute yardstick for this championship this season, and thoroughly deserving of that championship, provisionally, of course. But the
that's going to be your fracass phrase now, isn't it?
Yes. But the driver who gave him the best push was Will Chadwick, and I do believe that we've got him to speak to in this in the commentary box right now. And Will, I mean, your thoughts now are just focusing on second place in the championship, really, aren't they now?
Yeah, they are. They are, Paul. I mean, you saw the. I mean, I know everyone that jumps into session may be able to see the practice times. You can't see that at home, but going from fastest in practice by 1.5 to 10th in qualifying is the biggest choke I think I've ever done. But it's the pressure. This is what I really need to improve on, and I've been saying this for a while now. The pressure, for me, it really affects me. But I think you started to affect a few others as well, because I think Emery had a tough qualifying and race. But to go from P10 to Pro P3, I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, that's the big thing here, is that you were able to work your way through. Just how busy was it out there for you in the opening of that race? Because you had to make some moves.
Yeah, well, the tow's been reduced on iRacing recently, so it gets increasingly harder as we go on. But you know, I think it was okay. I didn't want to do any big sends, so I was kind of had to wait a while to try and get Jamie, and even then, I was questioning whether I would have to redress the position for a penalty, but I called up the stewards in the middle of the race to make sure about that one, because I'm only 5 seconds penalty points away from getting a qualifying ban in the next round. So I was like, look, I'll redress it if the stewards think it's a penalty. But that was all clear, so I'm happy I did that. And Pro P3 from 10th, I can't be too unhappy with that.
But starting second row of the grid for this next race, you just elbows out and get moving forward, I suppose.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think my race pace, I think my pace in general is good. I just need to be focused, do what I need to do, and you never know. Maybe eventually I'll get a win, but
well, go and enjoy the second race, and all the best for that one.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
It's always great to hear from Will, and of course, it's he's mathematically out of the equation for a championship win at this point. But I get the feeling he kind of knew that even a couple of rounds ago. But still with that with that positive attitude, still thinking, okay, well, P2 in the Pro Championships not too shabby at all. Got to be focusing on absolutely securing that here. At the moment, and there's certainly no reason why he wouldn't be able to.
But Will brings up a very, very important point, is that he is very close to triggering a qualifying ban. Mm-hmm. And if he ends up in an instant where he's found at fault and gets a 5-second penalty, then he will get that qualifying ban for the final round of the championship, which could have huge implications. So he needs to do all that he can to get to the front and try and get that win, get the monkey off his back and get the win in this race here in race number 2 of the day, but also do it cleanly so that he can really take it into Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time.
Well, he is fortunate in a sense that Emery did not get himself reverse grid pole position here for race 2. Here's the replay of what happened between Pennington and Cedric there. Coming across the line, and well, that's in towards the final turn there. What's your assessment of that situation, Paul?
Well, I mean,
I didn't want to say anything.
I mean, I'd want to have another look at it, but
I was like,
it was an interesting move, shall we say, and I'm sure that will catch the eye of the stewards, which thankfully I'm not on the stewards panel, so well, Ronald Grossman is one of the stewards, so you can send your messages through to Ronald, and I'm sure he'll be having a look at that. But Luke Pennington, I think, will feel a little bit aggrieved about that.
I mean, you have more qualifications to do stewarding than I do. I've not, well, apart from one occasion, I have never done any stewarding, and you've done lots of it. So there we go. But yeah,
nobody said I was any good at it.
Better than I could manage, especially with with some situations that have happened in the past, shall we say. But yeah, we're looking forward to towards race 2 here. We've got ourselves a couple of minutes left to go before we get ourselves stuck in to that second race. Of course, it will be Josh Malin that has pole position there in terms of the reverse grid. It will be Jamie Moon sharing the front row as well, with Will Chadwick in third. So good opportunity for Chadwick to try and get himself towards the front here. Hasn't quite necessarily shown the quickest pace out here today in Donington. Yes, he came through the field from that 10th place starting position. However, in terms of the drivers at the very top of the order, potentially still more work needs to be done. But, never say never. If he can get those 2 positions done relatively quickly and try and run away at the front of the field, that would do well in terms of holding on to that second place in the championship and getting himself in a position where he might not get that 5-second slowdown that will cause him a qualifying ban. Or 5-second time, excuse me.
Yeah. If I'm Jamie Moon, I'm getting flashbacks right now because he started on front row of the grid in race number 1 of today. I think I would be spending this whole 10-minute practice session just practicing my starts. Just practicing, getting those starts down, because it was an awful start. He'll be the first to admit that as well, that it was an awful start that he made in race number 1, and he immediately dropped down to 4th place It shows how difficult it is to start this car, though. It is one of the cars that you can really burn out the clutch and just be left sitting there looking like a fool when actually you think you've absolutely nailed that start. So I'm sure he'll be just doing starts until he feels comfortable in this warm-up session, and then go out and do the job this time.
Yeah, and you know, this car is not easy to start whatsoever. It's probably one of the trickiest cars on the service to get started from a standstill, of course. So that's why we're seeing such a huge variance in terms of how good starts people get, because some just completely get it wrong and get swamped, and meanwhile some others just launch off the line like a rocket. So that can cause a little bit of contention down in towards turn 1.
I mean, we even see it in the best, in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. We even see it there. So it's such a tricky car to get the best launch out of, and these drivers will be doing everything they can just to get themselves prepared for the start of this race, which will be coming up in a few minutes' time.
Yeah, well, yeah, it will do. It absolutely will. And of course, we have our reverse grid in effect here with the top 6 getting swapped around from the results of race number 1. So that will mean that Sebastian Job, our provisional championship winner in the Pro class, will start from 6th place here in this one. But without further ado, we'll get in towards our full starting grid here. So we've got ourselves Josh Malin there, as already has been mentioned, on pole position here for race number 2. Then we have Jamie Moon there in 2nd place, and like you said, Paul, looking to not repeat the start from race number 1. We've got ourselves Will Chadwick there in P3 with Luke Pennington there in P4. Then we've got ourselves Jack Cedric there in P5 with Sebastian Job in P6. Then, of course, we've got ourselves Matt Emery there in P7 with Leon Penn in P8 with Gareth Higgins P9 with Ollie Peacock P10. Then you've got Adam Staten and Scott Mokes rounding out the top 12 positions. Then you've got Jacob Toffs there down in P13, Jamie Rushworth for Peel Sims in P14 with Adam Cox in 15th, Eric Grove starting 16th. Leo Garibaldi has a lot to do this race if he wants to try and minimise the gap to Higgins. He starts in P17 with Brandon Blakesley there in P18, and then our final starter will be James Parker down at the very bottom of the order. Well, let's have a look then at the gridding process for race number 2. Drivers have plenty of time to get themselves ready and to get themselves set. Of course, it will be Josh Malin getting himself onto pole position here, which is a fantastic opportunity. However, you know, it sometimes might be a bit of a poison chalice in a way, because then you're putting all the pressure on yourself, and all of a sudden I've seen so many reverse grid pole position sitters absolutely bottle it in towards turn number 1 or in the first sector in general, you know, where perhaps the stress sort of overwhelms.
I may or may not have been somebody who has done that from the front on a reverse grid drawed race. So yeah, it's easily done, and it's just getting that experience. If you're not experienced from starting on pole position in races, then definitely it can be a bit of a sort of anxious few moments for you, and you can maybe feel a bit more pressure than you actually need to put on yourself. But Josh Malin, we know he's got the pace. We know what he can do behind the wheel of these Porsches. I think he's overdue a win in this series.
Let's see if he can get it. Just a couple of, about 12 seconds away from getting the green flag here for the final round here at Donington Park. Of course, we have another race weekend at Brands Hatch Grand Prix to cap off the season. AM Championship still has big question marks over it here, and will do so into the final round as well. Drivers getting themselves eager to get going here at Donington once again. Green flag is out there. They all launch off their respective lines. Someone's out into the grass in the background already and has basically parked it on the way down into, not even reaching turn number 1 here, as we see side by side between Malin and Moon, at least briefly there through Redgate, but it will be Malin that comes out on top in that one. Now it's Chadwick trying to get himself onto the back, down the Grainer curves for the first time here in race number 2, swinging it into the old hairpin, as well as the top 3 of a very slight breakaway already here. swarm in the background there. Someone's off the circuit out in towards the gravel there. That was Adam Cox having a problem in the early goings here. Everyone else getting themselves relatively single file. Still some battles going on though, as Cedric and Toff's back in the field now battling with Rushworth as well as they head towards the final sector. Pretty active here on the first lap.
Ollie Peacock it was who had the issue right at the very start. Sebastian Job is trying his best to get past Matt Emery, who's actually made up 2 places in this race as Matt so far. So had a good start, but now, oh, what was that? Car going flying off. That was Eric Grove going off at the chicane and down into the Melbourne hairpin for the first time. Still, Job not able to get ahead of Matt Emery, and they're going 3 wide further back in your field here. This is really close stuff on this opening lap.
Yeah, this is battle way towards the back there, but still fighting for positions like they're fighting for first. And, well, coming out of Goddard's now at the front, it is Malin by 7-8 tenths of a second already. Malin stretching his legs here, trying to get that gap so that he's, well, secure from a hard-charging Sebastian Job, but Job hasn't gained any positions off the start here at the moment. That's a little bit of a weird one from him. We usually see him gain at least 2 spots by the time lap number 1's done.
Well, I mean, I think he had actually gained a place, but then I think he got involved in an incident with Jack Sedgwick. That's what happened to Ollie Peacock right at the start then. Just got tagged from behind into the wall and just decides, do you know what? Let's park the car. They were going 3 wide. Leo Gariboli, don't forget, our AM Championship leader. He's involved in all of that. But here's Cedric then. This is going down into the old hairpit. I think it was up at McLean's where they possibly got together. Oh no, he just ran wide. He just ran wide to Cedric. Job goes through, but he got checked up, and that allowed Emery to get 2 places there.
It did, and the battle's continuing on there. There was Sebastian Job losing that gained position off of the start, putting him back in towards that 6th place. Emery doing a good job to try and respond to that one in that instance. Back towards the live pictures, though, we're seeing Will Chadwick there for Altus Esports there in 3rd place, trying to chase down Moon and Malin ahead. The gap has come down for the race lead now, just that little bit between Malin and Moon. It almost got to 8 tenths of a second, 9 tenths of a second on that last lap, but now down to 7 tenths of a second as Moon gets himself in gear. Pennington, though, still leading the AM category, and this has been a brilliant performance so far this race afternoon for Pennington. Meanwhile, this is what happened to Eric Grove. Oh, he caught the grass a little bit on the outside there, and yeah, that's not really recoverable after you do that.
Yeah, you touch the grass whilst you're braking, and before you know it, you're spinning off. There was that 3 wide through the Melbourne hairpin, and Leo Gariboli made side-to-side contact there with Adam Cox. So, no, it was Jacob Toffs, should I say, sorry. Gariboli's up 4 places already in this race. He needs to be making these places up if he wants to have the best opportunity of getting as many points as he can in the AM Championship. I mean, right now he's, 6th place in AM. So Gariboli, he needs to move forward if he wants to try and stop the points loss to Gareth Higgins. Yeah,
and he doesn't have a choice, really, about it, because otherwise it's going to be so close going into that final race meeting at Brands Hatch. And that might be the championship slipping from Gariboli's fingers in that instance if he's not able to score good points there. So, yeah, it's such a tricky situation to be in, and you know, Gariboli will know about this point situation as well, absolutely. So that's just another bit of added pressure that's, you know, he potentially might be thinking about behind the wheel, and there might be a situation where, as a result of that, he drives beyond his means and gets involved in an incident. I'm not trying to predict the future, touch wood, but yeah, it can result in that sometimes.
Meanwhile, Luke Pennington, what a day it's been for him. That Jamestown Engineering Limited outfit doing a sensational job this round. Moved over and let Jack Sedgwick through at the end. I mean, I question that, and I'm not entirely comfortable with doing that if you're Luke, but There you go. It didn't affect championship points on the scene. That Pennington, he's got a slow down penalty, cutting the chicane, and that's allowed Gareth Higgins to make the move. This could be crucial for the AM Championship.
State is also looking for the advantage as well down the inside at the hairpin. Will he be able to get the move complete by the time they get to the braking zone of Goddard's? Pennington still has the inside line, still has that overlap, will be able to go for the move in response and slots himself. Remains ahead of Adam State here in this one, but yeah, that's just how quickly things can change. State is going to look to the inside in towards Redgate now as well, but there's no overlap there for him to work with. Oh, Pennington's going to be slightly slow coming off the corner here, which might spell trouble into Craner curves, but it looks like State's not close enough to be able to try and capitalize on that one. But yeah, Higgins now up towards the AM class lead. That's not what Garibaldi wanted to hear. What Garibaldi wants to hear is he gaining position over some of these drivers here involved in the battle with Chofts, and of course Scott Mokes also involved in this one as well.
Yeah, he's got himself up to 12th place now as Garibaldi, but that's now 5th in class. So Scott Mokes has lost the positions there in that one. So yeah, that's definitely got him up a position. So Garibaldi will be wanting all the points that he could possibly get in terms of the AM Championship. But meanwhile, at the head of the field, it's Malin from Moon from Chadwick. There's Will Chadwick. He's giving us about 4 frames a minute there on his webcam, but he's just focused forward. He's nice and calm. You can see he's not in any sort of frustration, not any sort of panic mode right now, and he's just focusing forward. And in the early stages of a race, it's how you look after the tyres can really help you towards the end of the race. You'll be thanking yourself at the end of the race, but the problem is with the track temperature being so cold, you can actually push the tyres just that little bit more here on this race. But those guys at the front, they'll not want to slow each other down too much, because Chadwick has got Matt Emery behind, and he's not that far behind, to be honest. Emery could still get onto the back of this train.
Yeah, and this is a very close train now for P1, as Moon and Chadwick have been able to reel in the advantage that Josh Malin had in the early goings. Like I said, getting up to 0.8 of a second towards the end of the second lap, but that's all but a story now in the past, as it's only 3/10 of a second between Malin and Moon here for the moment as well. Moves being made a little bit further back though. Scott Mokes in the Olympus car. This is Leo Garibaldi looking down the inside at the S's. A little bit of a puff of smoke from Mokes' car as he locks up slightly down into there. But that's the position gained by Garibaldi, and now James Parker on the outside looking in as well in this little gaggle of cars of AM drivers. We also got Tofts, that's slightly involved in this one as well at the front of this one. Of course, Garibaldi, he knows what the task is. He knows what the objective is required, but it's sometimes quite tough to sort of do that in practice, especially when now you have, of course, Tofts between, a pro driver between you and your next driver in class, so to speak, in Brandon Blakesley, who's a couple of seconds down the road.
Well, I mean, that whole situation was Garibaldi having to defend from Scott Mokes. Mokes was trying to come back at him after losing the place the previous lap. So here's Josh Malin now. Look at the focus. He is just concentrating on one thing only, and that's driving this Porsche 992 Cup car as fast as he possibly can, because he has got 3 cars now behind him, and there's a Sebastian Job wanted to join in on this train of cars as well, so we could soon be having 5 cars for the lead in this race. But how good is this AM Championship being brought into this championship for this season? It's really kept things alive throughout the field. I think it's been great.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it just gives us more places to look at that have championship ramifications. Of course, it's really fantastic to see. So we can much more tune into these sorts of mid and lower mid-pack battles because they do have a lot of significance to the overall scheme of the championship. Of course, they are significant to the individual drivers themselves on any given race day. However, given that little bit more context, it just makes things just that little bit more exciting back there. Here's the onboard though with Gareth Higgins in the lead of the AM class right now, 7th place overall, and you can actually see the battle further down the head of him as well, where he's not too far off the back of them. So that's an interesting situation there. Here's a recovering Jack Sedgwick as well in the number 10 car in P10 overall, as he has a couple of AM drivers to deal with ahead of him if he wants to try and recover and get up and get stuck in amongst the top 6.
We heard Will Chadwick say about how iRacing have actually reduced the slipstream a little bit of these cars, and it's making it harder to make overtakes, and making mistakes like that, Jack, will just lose you a little bit of a run down this back straight into the foggy S's. But it means that there's more of an emphasis on the drivers setting up others for moves. I mean, we've seen moves so far in this week's racing start at one corner and then half a lap later finally get resolved. So it shows just how you've got to set things up throughout the course. You can't just make a dive and make a move into one corner. You've got to be really setting people up 2, 3, 4 corners beforehand.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. A lot of moves coming from mistakes over the course of this. The 2 races that we've had here at Donington Park, and it's all about that whole getting caught out of line business that results in a cumulative loss, and you have trouble getting yourself back in line. Here's the onboard with Emery. The windscreen wipers going, of course. People are surprised to hear that those do actually work here on these here in iRacing. Of course, there's sometimes occasionally bits of dirt and grime that gets thrown up onto the windshields, and bits of rubber as well in some cases as well. And those windscreen wipers do actually clear those.
Yeah, well, especially around this track, you do drag on a little bit of dirt through the Fog TSs. Is a perfect example of one of those corners, through McLean's, through the old hairpin as well. That does drag a lot of dirt onto the track, and so it can make your windscreen that little bit dirty. And the driver's utilising the windscreen wiper to be able to just clear that view a little bit for them. And of course, they keep on teasing it, don't they, iRacing? Yeah. There is rain coming soon. They've got the windscreen wipers on the car, they just need the rain to come, but it's not going to be coming just yet, especially not into the June build. So, just don't hold your breath yet, but it is coming.
Of course, we have no inside information. We couldn't tell you even if we could.
I only got that from the Downshift podcast, so don't expect it in the June build.
Yeah, it's, they said 2023, so it's, I would say much towards the end.
We're only in April,
much more
come
towards
on.
the end. That's what I'm expecting anyway. The latter end of time frames is usually a good bet when it comes to game developers. That's not even specifically iRacing, that's like sort of every game developer.
Well, what we have got is some intriguing racing going on. Jack Sedgwick has made a move, by the way. He's moved up into 9th place now, as there you see on the bottom of your screen, Gareth Higgins in 7th place, trying to get on with Leon Penn. That race for the lead, though, look at it. It is getting tight up there for that one. You've got 10.5 minutes remaining. If you're Will Chadwick, you're just loitering there, biding your time. You're wanting Jamie Moon to make a mistake so that you can gain 1 place, and then you can focus yourself on Josh Merlin. If you're Josh Merlin, you're thinking, well, we've got 2/3 of the way through this race right now. You've been in the lead all that time. Just 1 more third to go.
Yeah, well, it sounds relatively simple when you put it like that, Paul, but it's not really that easy. Just keep dealing with this pressure for another 10 minutes, you'll be fine. But yeah, it still is a realistic assessment of the situation. Having to deal with all of this for another 10 minutes. Not an easy feat, especially when you have such quick competitors behind you. You know, Moon has been very, very eager over the course of these races. Same with Chadwick as well. And of course, you have the ever-looming, ever-present threat of a Sebastian Job charging through the field towards the end of the race, as he typically keeps his tyres in better condition than everyone else and keeps something left reserved in the tank. So we still have that to happen as well.
Wow. It's time is starting to run out here. Will Chadwick's just showing his nose to Jamie Moon. Moon goes a little bit deep. You can go a little bit deep into the Melbourne hairpin because you can V off the corner to give yourself the run out of the corner. So what that has done is just allowed Josh Malin to pull away slightly, and he can focus going forwards now. He doesn't need to worry behind him because Moon and Chadwick, they're starting fighting. And again, Chadwick just showing that nose once again. He's trying to get in the head of Jamie Moon. That's easier said than done.
Yeah, and you can see what it's done to the gap as well, because now Moon's focused on Chadwick, you know, basically riding his back bumper. The gap has extended up towards P1 now, up to 7.5 tenths of a second. So, you know, you can see the pace drop off as the focus changes here from Jamie Moon. And look at how close that Altus Esports car is on the run through in towards McLean's. And now has to be defensive going off of McLean's and up the hill in towards Coppice as well. Chadwick really looking aggressive, looking eager, pushing the car through the corner basically on towards the max straight. Here's the onboard from behind, as now you've got Chadwick looking to the outside in towards the S's. Oh, it gets a bit close into there. Make sure you get that line through to set yourself up for a move in towards the hairpin. Moon going defensive early on, but changing lines down in towards the braking zone. Meanwhile, behind, Job is making a move on Matt Emery. Will he be successful? I don't think he will, at least coming off the hairpin. If he can maintain the overlap into Goddard's, then he might have a good chance. There we go. The space is given. Red Bull Racing Esports car down the inside, getting the traction off the corner as well to complete the move.
It's not been easy for Sebastian this race, that is for sure. He's had to slowly work his way through as Emery looks to the inside again, and Emery's not giving this one up without a fight. Almost contact between the two of them. Job gets the drive out of Redgate corner though. That's what having that outside line gives you. It gets on the power a little bit earlier, gets the move done. But you could see how Chadwick was trying to set up Jamie Moon. It started here, coming into McLean's. Moon had to go defensive going from here into Coppice. That compromised his line through Coppice then, so Chadwick then got the run down to the S's. He compromised Moon's line again through the S's into the hairpin. And you can see how this circuit, in just one corner, if you set them up on one corner, 4 or 5 corners later, you can get that move done. But it didn't work out that time for Chadwick. What it did do is it gave Josh Malin a nice, healthy lead.
It has now up just over a second between Malin and Moon, with just under 6 minutes left to go as well. That's a healthy gap to have at this stage. Let's see if Chadwick has anything for the second part of this battle then, because he had that one massive attempt, was unable to get by despite his best efforts. Has caused a bit of a rift, like you mentioned, between P1 and P2. If he does that again, then he could probably count out a P1 finish, all things considered. P2 might be the maximum that he's able to get, but Jamie Moon has been very, very competent at his defence so far.
Yeah, he's been really good, and as we said, from his qualifying, we know that he's got the 1 lap pace, but we know from speaking to Will, he was frustrated with his qualifying. He knows that he's got pace in that Altus Esports car, but then again, every car has got the same pace potentially because they've all got the same setup. But, you know, Will, he feels comfortable in that car right now, but the competition is so close between these drivers. We're talking tenths, half a tenth of a second difference between them. In the last lap, there was just 2 100ths of a second between Jamie Moon and Will Chadwick's lap time. That shows how close these two are evenly matched.
You You see Will Chadwick there with the racing driver head lean into towards the corner. There we go, in towards the hairpin.
Gains you a 10th, that.
Yeah, it does. You know, counteracting those virtual G-forces, right? That's the situation there. But you can see how close he is now. Look at that. Oh, he's going to ride the bumper again through the middle of the Goddards, but not going to get the exit required to be able to have any luck in towards Redgate.
We saw that in race 1, didn't we? He was getting bumping into the back of the car in front through Goddards, and again, Moon just parking the car on the apex, making it hard for Will Chadwick to get through. And don't forget that Moon and Chadwick in that race number 1, they did have slight contact into Redgate when Chadwick did make the move. So Moon will be determined to keep that second place ahead of him and get one back over on him in this race.
Is that determination going to be enough, though? That's the situation here. Here's the battle between Pennington, Cedric, State. Battle for P8 on your screens. We're riding on board with Cedric in the NX Racing car. Getting a very good run going through Coppice. Might open up the opportunity, not necessarily down into the S's, although he is looking for it. And dives down the inside at the first apex. Oh, Pennington's going to get spat out and rejoins right in front. Well, out of control, rejoins right in front there as Chadwick's now going for the move on Jamie Moon and has it complete. In and amongst that entire sequence, as we were distracted by a battle further down, that's when Chadwick decides to strike and gets himself up into second place. Less than 3 minutes to go to chase a 1.1 gap to Malin.
Trying to go too wide through the foggy S's here is a tall order. I don't know whether Cedric was far enough alongside, and well done Adam State to avoid that one. Here we go on board with Adam then in that satellite racing car. I just don't think that Cedric is alongside enough to make that move stick and to say that he's got that position. But Chadwick, though, up into second place, did it at the Melbourne hairpin. 2 minutes remaining, and there's a second between him and Josh Malin. It's going to be a tall order. There's about a lap and a half remaining in this race.
Very tall order indeed. Before I was interrupted by that move, I said you don't typically go for the actual move into the chicane. But like you said, you set up a couple of corners in advance. You get them offline in towards the chicane, and then you can get yourself to the inside of the hairpin. But I think Cedric going a little early there, and that was the result of it. Here's Sebastian Job with the onboard of our Provisional Championship winner in the Pro class. Looking down the inside now goes Sebastian Job on Jamie Moon. A little bit of a hip check through the middle of the corner, and now here comes Emery as well, looking to try and pick up the pieces of that little bit of contact, and now he's going to angle to the inside here. Emery with a forceful move there on the number 75. Gets it done, coming off the corner. No, they are still level. Now on the way down in towards Redgate. White flag is out there, start of the final lap, as Moon and Emery are fighting it out for 4th place. Moon keeps himself ahead though through Redgate. Still not done yet though.
I think Moon's just lost that rhythm, lost the groove of the track, and has just lost that ability to hold on to the place. Emery, that's a late move. Down into the old hairpin, gets it done with a little bit of a side-to-side contact. I think Moon will feel a little bit aggrieved by that move from Sebastian Job because it was a bit forceful. Job did miss the apex a little bit at the hairpin and went deep, so I think Moon might send that one up to the upstairs and let the stewards have a look at this. But Chadwick, look at the charge he's been making on Josh Malin. Malin, though, just needs to keep it on the grey stuff here.
He does. Malin looking for his first race win. The maximum he's scored so far this season is 5 points. He'll be scoring 10 if he is able to get himself to the line in first place. I think it's just a matter of needing just one more lap here for Chadwick. He's not close enough to go for the absolute send down in towards Goddards, so Josh Malin will tiptoe his way through, and you can see what it means to him as he heads his way across the line. Josh Malin takes the race win here at Donington Park in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, and an overflow of emotion.
What did I say? he orders a win. There you go. That's why they have me in this seat and not out there on track.
Yeah, oh, it's great to see the reaction. I've become so desensitized to drivers coming across the line because some of the top drivers just don't react. You know, even when Sebastian Job has his webcam on, he just sort of doesn't react whatsoever. But it's great to see Malin, of course, you know, get that race win. It's like you said, it's been a long time coming. He's absolutely had the pace to be able to put up these sorts of performances. However, it hasn't come together until now. That was awesome there, and very well deserved as well. Capitalizing on the reverse grid, you know, reverse grid pole positions to a reverse grid race win. That is always fantastic to see, and it was up against some quite significant pressure as well, especially in the middle portion of that race, and of course towards the end there with Chadwick closing in. Like I said, Paul, for Chadwick, it was a case of just one more lap. I need an extra minute or so on the clock to make that work.
Yeah, certainly, and I mean, that last lap, I mean, he gained another, you know, sort of half a second almost in that last lap, did Chadwick. So, yeah, good effort to try and get to Josh, but Josh, a thoroughly deserved race win there.
Yeah, Will Chadwick there in P2, Sebastian Job in P3. Remember the prize money for the race finishing positions as well. So Josh Malin, as well as getting his first win of the season, gets himself 150 quid as well. So that's awesome. We've got ourselves Matt Emery there in 4th place with Jamie Moon in P5, with Leon Penn in P6. Gareth Higgins with another exemplary AM performance, taking the AM class win here at Donington Park, and that is a huge point swing from this race afternoon in towards the final round of the season up against Leo Garibaldi. We'll see exactly what the figure is, but it feels like it's going to be significantly different to what it was coming into today. Jack Cedric there in P8 with Adam State in P9 with a decent AM performance, and Luke Pennington as well. He was one of the stars in the AM category here today. We've got ourselves Brandon Blakesley there in P11 overall with Jacob Toss in P12. Leo Garibaldi P13 overall. Decent recovery here in race number 2. You know, it's sort of stemming the bleeding just a little bit, but the fact of the situation is that things are going to be so close into that final round in the for the AM class lead. We've got ourselves Scott Brooks in P14 overall with Adam Cox in P15, James Parker in P16 with Jamie Rushworth P17, Eric Grove with that big off in the early portions of the race. He finishes in P18, but on a leading lap. And our only retirement here today, Ollie Peacock. That was a problem off the start there before they even got to the start line. He basically pulled it off the circuit and took the tow back towards pit lane. Paul, you're standing by with a very, very excitable and very happy Josh Malin.
Well, Josh, before the start of the race, I'll let you into a little secret here. I said that you owed us a race win in this season, and well, you've only gone and done it. How does that feel?
Ah, finally. Like, after so long for trying, I almost did it at Silverstone. Had it coming together with Sebi and Will coming out the final corner. But yeah, no. Finally, I've got a podium and a race win under my belt as well. So yeah, no, I'm really, really happy.
Well, we could tell when we were watching you go across the line. We could tell you had no hands, no hands. And, but to be honest, a first podium and first win of the season. It's been a testing season for you, hasn't it? It really has sort of pushed you at times, but that must be like a monkey off of your back right now for you.
Absolutely. I mean, autumn was probably my worst round, and then Spa again. It was a bit of a write-off. I just saw red and just hit Alt F4. So yeah, not very sportsman-like of me, but it was just getting so frustrating. Like, I was trying like endless things to try and get faster and try and match the guys ahead, and yeah, finally I've been able to do something. And you know, the funny thing is, I did less practice for this than I have done for all of them. So that sounds really bad, but I feel like if I practice too much, I get sort of like too invested in it. I'm trying to find the last few tenths, and I get frustrated, and then I start throwing it off and start overcompensating. So yeah, to get this first win and that is really it's fantastic. Feels great.
Brands Hatch Championship finale, Grand Prix venue. How are you feeling about that going into that final round?
Brands GP, it's a track that I've driven once before in real life and didn't go that well, but we shan't mention that. Yeah, no, I really like the track, and hopefully I can just sort of keep it on the black stuff again, and at least challenge for a podium. I don't know what Sebi's going to be doing in sort of the next round, whether he's going to be doing it or not. But if he's not in the equation, then it's certainly one person out of the equation for me to try and contend against. So yeah, as it is in this series, it's very, very close, and yeah, all the drivers deserve full credit in the series. It's been a joy to be a part of, as frustrating as it has been for the past however long. But to finally get a win, it's yeah, it feels good. Feels good.
Well, Josh, go and celebrate that one today, and you know, find a beverage of your choice. And yeah, congratulations on the race win.
Thank you. Does Pepsi Max count?
Other brands are available. Well, thank you very much, and all the best. Good luck for next round.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Well, that was your race winner from race number 2 here on RaceSpotTV, and we'll be getting a word with the leading AM driver from this race, Gareth Higgins. Gareth, I mean, having looked at the results, you must be thinking this is going to be an interesting run into the final round.
Yeah, I wasn't actually expecting it today. Like, Leo's been so consistent all season, well, aside from, I think it was Snetterton. I was surprised to see him not at his best in qualifying, but obviously I'll take it. It's very close now.
Well, that's it. I mean, you've done exactly what you needed to do here today. Okay, Luke Pennington got the AM win in race 1, but he was yards ahead of everybody else. But race 2, you know, you've fought your way through, got that AM win here today. What are your thoughts going into the final round of the championship? Is it just take it a race at a time now, or are you thinking bigger picture?
I mean, I want to go for the championship. Like, I think I'll go in. If I don't win it, I'll be disappointed at this point with how close it is. Yeah, I'm just going to practice as much as I can. Brands is a pretty good circuit for me, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Gareth, congratulations on getting the AM win here in race number 2, and on a really good week of results, and best of luck for Brands Hatch.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was the AM winner, Gareth Higgins, then, and joining us in the commentary booth, and looking forward to see who we've got next. I'm at the behest of our producer as to who we get next. It's Luke Pennington. Luke,
hiya.
Let's talk about race number 1.
Yeah,
because that was a tremendous qualifying lap from yourself, and then to keep it consistently in second place all the way through until the very end, you must be delighted with your performance there.
Yeah, it was a decent lap in quali. I'm not going to say it was a brilliant lap because I've done better this season, but it was all right. And then I was surprised to be P3, if I'm perfectly honest. I thought it'd be like P10. But yeah, it was a good race from my side. I didn't really make too many mistakes. The pace wasn't great. It looked like Seb was having some troubles as well. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. Once Moon and Chadwick started fighting and backed off a bit, then I kind of relaxed a bit, and it was a bit easier from there on out. But it wasn't an easy race at all.
Well, yeah, you certainly got yourself a really good result in race 1. Race 2, a little bit tougher for you out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I got a slowdown. I think maybe lap 2, something like that, and then I dropped. It was a bit stupid of me because I served the slowdown and then kept serving it, and then Higgins got past me, but he had more pace anyway. And then I had contact with Sedgwick 3 laps ago, I think, which I don't know. It's an unfortunate one. He put his car in a place where it was pretty much going to be a bit an accident. So it is what it is. I guess I could have backed out of it, but I would have been 3rd anyway, so it didn't make too much difference in the end.
Well, Luke, from Jamestown Engineering Limited team, congratulations up on a good result here today, and all the best for Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
That was Luke Pennington, and then I think we've just got quick time to speak to Matt Emery. Matt, you finished 4th here in this final race. Just talk us through this week, because it's been a real push, hasn't it, this season?
Yeah. No, I completely messed up qualifying today, and race 1 wasn't ideal either. So it's been quite a challenging weekend, really. Yeah, race 1 I got a slowdown on lap 1, which dropped me to about 10th, I think it was. and I was pushing to try and get back to 6th at least, so I could at least get pole for the race 2. But yeah, second race was really fun coming back through, and then I managed to get Jamie on the last lap, which was quite important for the championship for that 3rd place. I feel like I left enough room. I'm not sure what it looked like on stream, but yeah, I feel like I left enough room there.
I mean, it was an impressive charge that you made through in race 1, it must be said, from what we were seeing of you. Just kept on coming up and coming up, but still, going into that final round of the championship, you know, you're looking at a 3rd place. It's going to be tough to fight for 2nd place,
yeah.
But you never say never in this championship, do you? You've got to keep fighting right till the very end.
No, exactly. It keeps throwing up surprises, which is really good, and the racing's been really close all season. So it's been really fun to take part in. Just got to hope for a clean last race and hopefully secure that 3rd place. As you say, I think 2nd's probably a bit too far out of reach, but you never know. So yeah, just all guns blazing in the last race, I guess.
Well, congratulations on getting up to 4th place in the end then in that race number 2 today.
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go, Connery. We've almost run out of time here on the broadcast, but it was great to hear from our drivers there and get their thoughts on how things went for them. And well, I mean, one driver, I suppose, that we've really got to see what they think, even though they haven't joined us, is our provisional champion, Sebastian Job.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, of course, you know, can't force him exactly to be here, can we? But that's just the situation that we have to hand. However, he's also got you know, other priorities to be thinking about as well, because the racing never stops for a lot of the pro drivers. They have things week on week, and you know, back to back, and sometimes can be quite difficult to deal with. But we have, of course, in a couple of weeks' time, the finale of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain on the 30th of April at Brands Hatch. We've been to Brands Hatch already this season onto the Indy circuit, but now we take the full layout as our finale for race 15 and 16. So you definitely want to put that date into your calendar, because we have an AM championship to decide there between Gareth Higgins and, of course, Leo Garibaldi, with Pennington on the outside looking in there as well. So there's an overall recap of where we've been so far this season, and as well, there's just one more race meeting to go there at Brands Hatch. A lot of racing still to come here before then. On the Porsche Twitch channel in particular, of course, we have the Sprint Challenge calendar on Thursday, and of course we have the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup on the 22nd of April as well, just on that next weekend. Of course, you know, we've seen Jordan Caruso put in some fantastic results so far this season to give himself the great advantage at this point as we head in towards the second half of the season there, but don't count out Diogo Pinto or Charlie Collins. Definitely can't count them out whatsoever in those latter rounds. But for here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, we've crowned the champion, Sebastian Job, provisional pro champion at this stage. But of course, we still have remaining battles to sort out in the final round of the season in 2 weeks' time. We'll have to say goodbye.